Hello, everyone. This is part 3 of chapter 2. In this discussion, we're going to be focusing pretty much completely on the topic of affirmative action. So let's get right to it. So to start out in discussing this, we have to understand a few terms here. The word demographics. Previously, we talked about the word diversity. Demographics is putting a number to all the different types of diversity you have in a country, in a place, okay? Demographics is very important in the world of human resources, marketing, supply chain. Knowing what percentage of people you have in an area is super important. So, you know, just knowing that you have more young people means you're going to sell things that young people want more. Knowing you have more old people, you're going to sell more things like vitamins and stuff that old people need. So it's just knowing the percentage of people of each type of demographic is very important in marketing, human resources, supply chain, virtually everything in the world of business. So to understand affirmative action, I've created a fictional state, kind of mixing California and Arizona, and we'll just call it California. And the population of California is that it is 40% white, it is 40% white, 25% Hispanic, which just simply means that the people come from Mexico or Latin America primarily. It is, oops, I just meant to make that highlighted, sorry. It is 20% Asian, so mostly people who come from South Korea, Japan, China. And it is 15% African American. That's the term that we use in America to describe most Black people in America. There are Black people who are not African American, but that's not worth getting into right now. So again, 40% white, 25% Hispanic, 20% Asian, 15% African American. It's also worth noting that the population of the country is 50% women and 50% men. Let's make it nice and simple. And someone's ringing my bell, so I need to stop. I'm hoping that this recording just paused and I'm back now. It was my neighbor ringing my doorbell to drop me off some very nice food. So thank you to my neighbor. Okay, so we're back to this fictional country where the population is pretty diverse and of course, 50% men and 50% women. Now imagine that there's a fictional company in this state called Gugmazan. Gugmazan has 1,000 employees, and of those employees, 75% are white, 20% are Asian, 2% are African American, and 3% are Hispanic, okay? Also, in this company, 90% of the people, 90% of the employees are men, and only 10% of the employees are women. So, does the workforce of Gugmazan accurately represent the population of California? And the answer, absolutely, is no, it does not. So, what to do? Affirmative action says you should actively try to recruit from the groups that are underrepresented. And so which groups of what we talked about here are really underrepresented? In this case, there are 3 massively underrepresented groups. Women, they are 50% of the population, yet only 10% of the workforce. Way underrepresented. Hispanics are 25% of the population, and yet only 3% of the workforce. Way underrepresented. African Americans are 15% of the population, yet only 2% of the workforce. Asians are also underrepresented in this. So I think they're 25% of the population in the example I used and only 20%. But in terms of really underrepresented, it's women, Hispanics, and African Americans. Actually, yeah, never mind. Forget what I just said there. Yes, we'll stay with that. So what does affirmative action say should happen here? It says that Gugmazan should try to recruit more women, Hispanics, and African Americans. But to do real affirmative action, it's more than just recruiting. they need to create a workplace that makes women, Hispanics, and African Americans feel comfortable and allow them to be promoted up within the organization. So how do we do that? So our goal is to create a workplace that is more diverse. So one way to do it is to use what's called quotas. Quotas means of the next 100 people that Groupe Maison hires, 50% must be women, because they're 50% of the population. So 50% of the employees we hire must be women. 25% of those we hire must be Hispanic, and 15% must be African American. That's what quotas. That's one way companies can try to get diversity, is to use quotas. Steve's take is that quotas are bad. It's just not good management to say we must hire a certain percentage of a group. It's not good. And the US Supreme Court 15 years ago, I'm not sure how long ago, basically agreed with me on this, that quotas are not the right way to do it. But there are still companies that use quotas, and that's just unfortunate. So how do you do it? You make it clear at all levels of the company that diversity is important. From the equality reasons that I talked about earlier, and the economic reasons, the business reasons why it's better. So it's better for equality, and it's better for business if you have a more diverse workforce. Does affirmative action mean that companies can't hire the most qualified person for the job? That just seems unfair, okay? This is the argument that people often use against affirmative action. It's unfair. Companies are not hiring the most qualified person for the job. And my reaction is, yeah, a big eye roll. I can't even go into why that argument is not a good argument. Just trust me. You very rarely in life do companies hire the absolute best person, and very rarely in life does a company know for sure who really is the best person. Okay? There's so many things that go into the hiring decision, which I'm going to get to in another video. There are so many things that go into the hiring decision that the idea that you're hiring the absolute best person is ridiculous to begin with. So trying to get more diverse workforce, that's a good thing. Now, because I don't want this video to go too long, on to the term amortization. And I'm using the British spelling here because it seems like the government here uses the British spelling more than the American spelling. I think the American spelling would have a Z where the S is, but anyhow. The demographics and reality of the UAE is that there are a lot of young people. There are a lot of people your age and a little bit older than you that are graduating from college compared to what there was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. The government knows there are not enough jobs within the government for everybody who is local to be able to get a job. So what to do? And the initiatives that the government's working on is how do we encourage younger people to go into working in the private sector? And so the government has had several different initiatives in the time that I've been here. I came in 2008. In order to encourage more locals to go into the private sector. It's also why they're encouraging entrepreneurship, encouraging people to create their own businesses. This is what amortization is affirmative action. It's how do we increase locals' participation in the private workforce. Yeah, so I will stop the share, just come back to me here. As I said when I covered this in class, affirmative action is a controversial topic. There are people who absolutely oppose it, and there are people who oppose it for ideological reasons. They just think it's wrong. They think that companies, you shouldn't do it no matter what. Then there are people who oppose it because it's just done wrong. Companies who use quotas. So I might be in this category. I don't know, I'm not in that category. Because I support affirmative action. But I understand the people who oppose affirmative action because so many companies do it wrong. I'm in the group that very much believes in affirmative action. I believe that the workplace should reflect the population that it represents. And I say that as a guy who, you know, none of my students here look like me, and yet here I am teaching, so I'm not representing. But it's also the comment that I made in class. It is amazing to me that the College of Business is 75%, 80% female, and yet among the faculty of the College of Business, we are less than 10%. I'm not sure. 8 out of 80, 7 or 8 out of 80 are women. So part of the reason why I believe in affirmative action is that it's important to have role models. It's important to have, if you see somebody who is like you, it makes you in a position of authority. It makes you it makes you feel better. And so, yeah, I support affirmative action, and even, yeah, I support affirmative action. So anyhow, I wonder if this whole video worked. I'm not sure if the whole pause thing, never done it before. So if you're seeing this, this means it worked. If you're not seeing it, then yeah, whatever. Anyhow, this is it for chapter 2. Chapter 2 has gone on longer than I expected. I apologize. I very much appreciate your attention to these videos. Take care. We'll get chapter 3 going next.